Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
And welcome into the premiere episode of the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner. New show that we're having here on the Hockey Writers. I'm sure you guys know our faces from the Hockey Writers ranking show that we had in the past with the draft, but we're going to be doing an exclusive prospect show throughout the season, talking about, well, of course, prospects, young players, and the NHL and juniors, all that stuff. I'm joined in by, of course, our other prospects experts, or two of them at least. Peter Baracchini and Greg Boysen. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Doing great, Matt. Great to be here.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun talking prospects all season rather than just around the draft. We had a lot of fun doing our different discussions of the rankings and all that stuff, so it should be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so before we get going into it, make sure if you like this show and our YouTube channel, make sure to like this video on YouTube, on Facebook. And remember to follow us on Twitter at the Hockey Writers, and make sure you're actually checking out the website because we have a lot of great content over there as well, and a lot of great other YouTube shows that I'm sure you've already watched. Also being able to make sure you're signing up for our Morning Skate newsletter as well at morningskate.io. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great writers writing that stuff as well. So yeah, let's just get into it right away. And to start is top 100 prospects just came out about a week ago. We had a lot of fun writing that up, and Peter, great job on putting that all together. We're just going to dive into it. We're just going to go down the list and group them into 10, just going through the 10s, and we're just going to have a comment on each, just a prospect to watch throughout the top 100. So we'll start with Peter, our 100 to 91. Is there a prospect in there that is be able to watch throughout the season that fans should be watching?
I got a few right now. There's two. I'm going to combine them into one. Luke Hughes and Brant Clark, two of the top 2021 draft defensemen that got a lot of attention. I know Luke Hughes right now. He's going to be one to keep an eye on this year. He had a really great season with the U.S. National Development Team, and with Brant Clark right now, no OHL season. Well, he's getting that chance this year, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be dominating with his offensive awareness, his puck handling, and he's just an offensive dynamo on the back end. Luke Hughes, kind of that two-way kind of defenseman, way different than his brother Quinn, but you know what? I'm looking forward to both of them to see what they can do this year.
Yeah, there's some exciting. Luke Hughes is going to definitely go up higher than he is in the bottom 100 right now, but he's going to probably be in the top 10, I think, towards once he starts developing, getting into the NHL. So he's definitely going to be a high riser moving forward, I think. So yeah, that's the top. That's the 100 to 91. Greg, 90 to 81. Any of those prospects stand out to you?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple on this list. Mason McTavish was part of this group, who probably has the highest ceiling of the groups, but the player that I think as far as this season goes that we should keep our eye on is Jamison Reese of the Carolina Hurricanes. He was ranked number 89. I probably picked him because I got to watch covering the Chicago Wolves. I got to watch all his games last year, so I'm familiar with him, but he's never going to be that all-star NHL player, but he's that player that every team needs. He benefited last year being able to play in the AHL all season long. Otherwise he would have been in the OHL, but he had 8 goals, 14 points in 29 games on a very talented Wolves roster that actually had dual affiliations, so they had all the Predators prospects there as well.
Yeah.
But he's that kind of like jackknife player. He can play on the power play, penalty kills, Plays all the phases of the game, plays with an edge. He racked up 47 penalty minutes as well. He's definitely the type of player that likes to get under opponent's skin. So I like him a lot, and I think he could be a very effective player down the road. And I look forward to his second pro season coming up.
Yeah, the Hurricanes itself, we'll be talking about the farm system rankings soon in this next segment, but the Hurricanes are sure moving up in that. They got a lot of great prospects as well. So great picks there. Mine 80 to 71. Looking at this group of prospects, I'm looking at Willie Mecklin, San Jose Sharks. And this guy was supposed to be, some of us ranked him as number one. And he dropped into the San Jose Sharks' lap. I mean, this guy's going to be a star in the NHL very soon. And I think you're definitely going to be watching him right away. And the Sharks sure got a gem there. That's the guy I kind of picked out right away from that group. We'll go back to Peter, looking at 70 to 61. What are prospects there you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the New Jersey Devils and Nolan Foote. It's a shame that we won't be able to see him play with his brother Cal in Tampa Bay, but you know what? Nolan has just a really great offensive arsenal. He's got that big body frame to be a power forward, go into the corners, come out on top. He's got great strength and even the shot too. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, during the World Junior Championship, I believe it was in 2020, his release and his accuracy was just insane. I mean, I saw it up close at the selection camp, and even when I was, watching it on the screen on my laptop or even on TV, it was just phenomenal what he was able to do with his release. So he's definitely someone to look out for. I mean, probably a little bit lower than I would have liked to have had him. I think he could have been in that 60 to 51 range, but he's definitely going to move up next time around.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of guys, like I said, there's a lot of guys on this list that are definitely going to be moving around in our next rankings. I mean, this is looking at the past year, which is really weird for a lot of prospects as well. So yeah, that's definitely something we're going to be watching as well. Greg, next up, 60 to 51. What are you looking at there?
This was actually a pretty solid group and kind of hard to pick out one guy. I mean, this group included guys like Jack Rathbone and Ryan Suzuki, Jacob Perreault, but I'm actually going to go with Adam Beckman, the dynamic forward for the Minnesota Wild. He was ranked 54th overall. I got to see him a little bit last year when he played with the Iowa Wild in AHL. He had a very unique year last year where he played in the AHL, the WHL, and then eventually in the NHL. But he scored at every level he was at, including 5 points in 9 NHL games with Minnesota. This kid is just a sniper. He's got just a deadly release and can score from anywhere on the ice. And the Minnesota Wild have been a team that's been desperate for goal scoring since they joined the league, it seems like. So,
yeah.
He's going to be definitely someone that can help carry that offense and spread it out a little bit up there. So they should be very excited about him up in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota Wild, they do have a few really good prospects. I'll be mentioning one of them later on, but the Wild are definitely a team to watch as well moving forward. Next up, we're into the 50s now, 50 to 41. I'm looking at Jonathan Berggren, Detroit Red Wings prospect. He's the guy that I admittedly left off my list last time through, and I feel really bad about it. Looking at it still, he's a top 100 prospect. I don't know how I missed him the first time out, but he's going to be a star for the Red Wings that are getting a lot of great young guys coming up. And Lucas Raymond's another one as well that is going to be a star in the NHL. Berggren's going to be right there with him. That's the guy I'll be looking forward to watching in Detroit for years to come. Next up, 40 to 31. Peter, what are you looking at there?
I'm going to stick with defense. I know I talked about Clark and Hughes before, but someone that's really impressed and continues to rise up is Cam York from the Philadelphia Flyers. Smaller in stature, not your prototypical 6'1", 6'2" defenseman, but he's got the smarts. He's got the leadership qualities. He leads by example on the ice. I mean, there just isn't anything that this kid can't do. I mean, dominated the NCAA with the University of Michigan. got called up, captained Team USA to the gold medal at the World Juniors. So you know what? He succeeded at every single level this year. So I'm going to bet on him that he's probably not too far away from joining the roster. Maybe a call it mid-season, depending on how the Philadelphia Flyers see him. I think he's going to be a really great prospect for them.
Yeah, I like Cam York too, and he showed some flashes in the NHL already. And yeah, he's going to be a great player for them moving forward as well. Definitely agree with that guy. Looking forward there. We're getting down to it here. Greg, 30 to 21. What are you looking at in that group of prospects?
No doubt for me, it was Seth Jarvis at number 24, another Carolina Hurricanes prospect. He got to start last season in the AHL with the Wolves and was like one of the top 3 best players in the entire AHL with no pro experience as a teenager. Was just fantastic. He had 7 goals and 11 points in his 9 games before he returned to Portland in the WHL. He was a weapon on the power play. This kid is going to be a real good player for Carolina. As we've already mentioned, one of their players, and we're probably going to into them more. They've got one of the best farm systems in the NHL to go along with a team that's already full of really good young players. So, the Chicago Wolves are now their affiliate, and I'm really excited to cover that team for the next couple of years because there's going to be some really good players coming through. So, Seth Jarvis was a steal from that draft a year ago, and is going to be a really good player.
Oh my gosh, Seth Jarvis is one of the guys I was looking at throughout the draft, and yeah, the Hurricanes again got a gem where they picked him as well, and I liked him for the Canucks in that too. So yeah, he's going to be a guy to watch as well. Moving into the 20 to 11, I'm looking at. I mentioned him a little earlier, not by name, but moving in Marco Rossi, Minnesota Wild. He had a big scare, health scare with COVID and with his heart. And I'm glad he's back on the ice because this guy's going to be a star in the NHL. And lifestyle wise, I'm very happy that he's able to continue playing hockey, because that's a scary thing to go through for anyone, not just because he's a hockey player, but as a person. I'm glad he's back on the ice, and his family's probably happy that his health is good. So but yeah, for the Wild, this guy's going to be a second line, even first line center. He may be the first line center very soon. So definitely watching him moving forward and in training camp for the Wild, because my gosh, he's just skilled. He's fast. He's got soft hands. He's got a great shot, and he's going to be someone to be watching moving forward as well for the Wild.
Looked good in that Olympic qualifier too.
Oh yeah, that's right. So definitely a player to watch. We're into the top 10. We're just going to run around all 3 of us here, looking at a player to watch in the 10 to 1, because there's a ton of great prospects in this top 10. Peter, let's start with you. Who are you looking in this top 10?
Yeah, I could pick anyone in the top 5. I'm not going to, because we've all seen them. We all know how. I mean, if you guys are going to, great. But like Quentin Byfield and Trevor Zegras are going to be 2 top-notch centers.
Yeah.
Cole Caulfield's going to be a reckless sniper in the league. We've already seen it right now. Raymond, we've already talked about him. Jamie Drysdale as well. I've been a big fan of him, and I was hoping he would fall to the Maple Leafs. A little bit of bias. In the 2020 draft was Anton Lundell. I mean, everyone was talking about like, yeah, he's got that 2-way game. The offense wasn't there. He gets drafted, and like early 2020, this guy was going off with the goal scoring. So the fact that, you got him in the system, you already have someone similar like Alexander Barkov, who can, learn off each other. They're both countrymen as well. They got that familiarity. He can learn from one of the greatest players in the league right now, one of the most underrated players in the league as well. So the fact that the Panthers have Lundell in their system, they got a great goal scorer, a smart playmaker, and a smart guy away from the puck as well. I'm hoping that he's going to do some damage in the near future.
Yeah, Lundell's a very skilled player. I liked him too as well. So definitely a great guy to be watching moving forward. Greg, anyone that you're looking at in the top 10 moving in here?
Well, as Peter mentioned, it's just a tremendous group. You can't go wrong with any one of these guys. But this kind of pains me as a lifelong Chicagoan. But I'm going with Detroit Red Wings defenseman Maurice Sider. That kid, damn, he's good. And I wish he played for my team. I mean, he's going to be the prototypical modern NHL defenseman. He's huge at 6'4" and over 200 pounds, but is an amazing skater. Not just for a guy of that size, just overall great skater, great mobility. He's got tremendous vision on the ice in the offensive zone. Plays a very smart, sound game, but he's also very good in his own end, responsible, and he's mean and he's tough, and he will destroy you if you don't keep your head on a swivel. I mean, he's got it all. There's very few weaknesses in his game. He's got size, he's got speed, he's got offense, he's got defense, and he'll blitz you in the third row. So I was lucky enough. I got to see him a few times in person covering the Ice Hogs and Wolves when he was with Grand Rapids 2 years ago before everything got shut down. And he was impressive at that level too. I mean, he stood out. Not just in stature, but just in his play. He was a men against boys, and he's going to be a stud. And I hate that he's playing for the Red Wings.
Yeah, Sider, when he was drafted that high in that draft, and everyone's scrambling to find out who this guy is. No one is scrambling to find out who this guy is anymore. He's probably going to be the number one defenseman in Detroit very soon, and if you guys want to find out more about this guy, just watch the Grind Line, another YouTube show we have on here, and they rave about him as well. And there's some debates on if he's going to make the lineup for the Red Wings in training camp, but I think he's going to be in the NHL sooner rather than later. So
yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be this year. I think he's ready.
Oh, I believe so too. I don't think he's going to be playing in the minors. If he does, it's going to be very, very little time.
Yeah,
he'll be up here. And, yeah.
If he's got an apartment in Grand Rapids, he better be looking to get out of that lease real soon. He's not going to need it very long, if at all.
That's 100%. I'm going to take it easy and pick Trevor Zegras. It's obvious, I know, but this guy's going to be, for the Anaheim Ducks, a team that needs offense like crazy. They need a lot. Jamie Drysdale's another guy that is going to be a star there. But yeah, Zegras, he's number one center. Even though Ryan Getzlaf is there still, he's not really the same player anymore. Zegras he's good at everything. I mean, he's a great playmaker. Probably that's his biggest strength. But he's already blown up the AHL. He's ready for NHL a full season. So definitely watch him moving forward, because I mean, Zegras is, I mean, we've already watched him in the World Juniors. We've watched him in the AHL, the NHL. This guy's the real thing. I think the Anaheim Ducks have their next Ryan Getzlaf, not the same type of player, but the next face of their franchise, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move into the polarizing prospects. Because whenever you put out rankings like this, you're going to have people, I mean, everyone looking at it and saying, okay, why is this guy on this top 100? This guy does not deserve to be in here at all. I mean, you're going to have opinions in any rankings you do, especially ones like this. Prospects is a big talking point for a lot of teams, a lot of fan bases. So let's start with Greg on you have a polarizing prospect that you look at this rankings list and say, maybe he shouldn't be here. Maybe he's a borderline prospect. What do you think there?
Well, I mean, I took the term polarizing a little differently when I was looking at this list, because there's definitely some guys on here that, always going to be a debate, as Peter's Twitter mentions, quickly found out that there's always going to be somebody upset. Yep. This guy's too high. Where's this guy? I saw a YouTube video on this guy. He's the greatest guy ever, but, it's all a matter of opinions. But as far as polarizing, I took that a little different on this topic. So maybe I'm going off the board here. But as far as polarizing, to me, a guy like Evan Bouchard from the Oilers is who I picked, just for the fact that he definitely deserves to be on this list. But he seems to be a guy that we've heard about forever as going to be this next big thing. And, it seems like he was drafted in like 1975. It's just his name's been on lists, and he's up, he's down. And maybe the Oilers have finally learned their lesson, and they've decided to take time with their prospects after rushing so many number one picks to the NHL and not having it work out. So when I think polarizing, to me, it means a player that you really want to pay attention to and see how it works out. And that's the guy. I mean, he's shown his talent at every level. He's even had a little bit of taste in the NHL, but I think this is his year where he's, it's time for him to be that NHL player. And Lord knows the Oilers could definitely use, that secondary scoring he can bring from the blue line to take the pressure off their big guys up front. So that's who I picked as polarizing, just for the fact that I think that out of all the guys in this top 100, he's the guy that probably has that make or break season this year.
Yeah, I agree. And on this show, we're going to be plugging a lot of our other YouTube shows. I'm going to plug another one. Oilers Overtime, they just had an episode talking about value contracts. And Evan Bouchard was one of those guys that Jim Parsons picked out as one. This guy they're thinking could be a 40-point defenseman if he's on the first unit power play in Edmonton. They were discussing that a lot on that episode. So if you want to find out more about this guy, definitely check out that episode. But yeah, I agree. Evan Bouchard's a guy that's been talked about a lot. When in that draft, he was a top pick. And I think he's still going to be an NHL defenseman and a really good one. And if he is put on that first unit power play with Connor McDavid, I mean, look out. I think he does have that capacity to be a 40-point defenseman. And at the contract he is right now, and that's where you do what you do. You reap the rewards of an entry-level contract. And Oilers haven't done a really good job at that in the past, like you said, Greg, about rushing their prospects. So maybe they're doing something good here with him. So we'll wait and see and what happens. But yeah, it's definitely he definitely falls in that polarizing prospect definition. So
also a right-handed shot too, and those are really hard to come by too. So the fact that they took their time with him, didn't rush him, got some really good looks, scored a couple goals. I do agree with you. I think now this is going to be his time as well.
Yeah, agreed. And my polarizing prospect is Jack Studnicka from Boston Bruins, and this is a guy that he did come out in those Twitter mentions a lot. There was a back and forth between a few guys about if he should be in that top 100. I mean, I'm the opinion that he does still deserve to be in this group. He's got skill. He hasn't really shown it at the NHL level yet, but I mean, has he really been given much of an opportunity? I think he hasn't really been, especially on a stacked team like the Boston Bruins. They don't have a lot of young prospects that you'd be looking at. Well, I mean, now with Fabian Lysell, I mean, they do have someone now, but he's still the guy that you're going to be watching for to actually do something on the NHL level. He's still really young. He will be graduating from this list by mid-season, I think, and he will be playing in the NHL, and we'll see what type of progress he does make. But yeah, he's definitely a polarizing prospect. He was a guy we moved around a lot in these rankings. I actually said, we should be lower, maybe he should be higher, but yeah, he was a polarizing prospect between us as well. So you're not alone on Twitter. So
opinionated Bruins fans, that's a new one. Who saw that coming?
Oh.
Yeah, that's great. Peter, well, final word on this topic. You have any polarizing prospects? I mean, you were involved heavily in this list. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you took Studnicka from me, but then again, I totally agree with you. You were spot on with your analysis right there, Matt. And I'm going to stick with Greg with another player that we've seen quite a bit on these lists, is Scott Perunovich from the St. Louis Blues. Not denying his skill set, was a Hobey Baker winner, top defenseman at the NCAA, I believe, before the lockout or before the season stopped. I'm going to be interesting to see how he's going to battle for a position right now, because the St. Louis Blues have a lot of left-handed defensemen, and Scott Perunovich is a left-handed D-man, and he's 23 years old. Time is slowly running out for him. They already have Justin Falk, Torrey Krug, Colton Parayko on the right side, Scandella, Nico Mikola, and Jake Wallman as well. So he's going to be in a dogfight to try and earn a spot and prove to the St. Louis Blues organization that he's still worth being their top prospect or being their go-to guy in the future. I mean, he's great offensively in his passing, and he's a great playmaker, but they're pretty heavy on the left-hand side. So he's going to need to make a big impact in order to make the next jump.
Yeah, that is another guy that's been on this list a couple times already. And even when we had Josh as the head of the prospects, he was on his list. This guy has been around for a while, and another one that's going to have to take a step forward this season. But again, on a Blues team that has quite a few good defensemen on their blue line, and he's going to have a hard time cracking that lineup, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in training camp. That's for sure. We're about halfway through the show now, and I'm just going to remind you to like this video on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to the Hockey Writers YouTube channel. There's a lot of great shows on there. We mentioned a couple of them as well already. Make sure to check out thehockeywriters.com. There's a lot of great content there every day. I mean, we're pumping out articles like crazy, even in the off season. Lots of great writing over there. Make sure to do that. And if you have any comments on what we've discussed in this episode, make sure to comment below. We're going to probably dedicate a part of the show if we get a lot of comments in the future to those comments. So definitely comment as well. Next topic. Well, we're going to get into those farm system rankings. We discussed that earlier, kind of alluded to it. That was just released a couple days ago by you, Peter. And again, this is a polarizing subject for a lot of people on Twitter and social media, and I mean, in writers in general. When you put their team, depending on the rankings where you're putting them, if you're putting them low, there it could have some comments. Let's say that. But let's start with me. I mean, I'll start with me with
why not?
Let's start with me. I'm talking as well. So I mean, we're starting with what team fell the most in these rankings from the last list to now. I'm looking at my team, the Vancouver Canucks, and they dropped quite a few spots. I mean, they were 11th coming in last year. They dropped to 20th. That's quite a big drop in my opinion, and I kind of saw this coming. You got so many good prospects that graduated. You're going to have a few more this season, and Podkolzin, Juolevi, these guys are going to take the next jump in. Not saying that they're full-time NHLers, but they're going to play enough games that's going to graduate from our definition of a prospect. So once that happens, I really foresee this. Unfortunately, the Canucks are going to be dropping like a rock next rankings. I think they're going to be going into the 25 to 30, unfortunately. I mean, this team just doesn't have a lot of high-end skill. I mean, they got some guys that could maybe make it down the road, but I mean, for high-end skill, the Quinn Hughes, the Brock Bessers, those guys are gone. They're now NHL players. They're not in the pipeline. And I think the Canucks definitely need some high-end skill to be included into their pipeline. They traded away their 9th overall pick, which they could have got Dylan Guenther, and that would have been a huge boost to their prospect pool, but never happened. So they did trade it and got Ekman Larsson and Connor Garland. I mean, not a bad haul for that pick, but when you can add a guy like Dylan Guenther and you couldn't do it, they need to keep their first round pick this year. They can't trade it because you need it. And that's my pick, the Canucks. And unfortunately, it's my pick for the lowest. Next, Peter, what team are you looking at that's dropped the most in these rankings that need to actually ramp up their prospect development?
I'm sorry, Greg, I got to do this, but I'm going to say the Chicago Blackhawks. They were previously 23, dropped down to 28, that 5 spots. I mean, it's not as big as the Vancouver Canucks, but their prospect system right now is pretty thin. And aside from Lucas Reichel, who's going to be a very tenacious player, middle 6 winger, I'm looking forward to him. But this draft, they could have gotten a little bit better, especially with their pick and taking Nolan Allen. They took him in the first round, a defensive stay-at-home defenseman, not going to put up a lot of numbers, and they could have taken someone like Olen Zellweger if they wanted to afford, maybe take Sasha Pasajov, who both went to the Ducks coincidentally. I just think that they're going for depth as opposed to, taking best players available. And I think that's where it's going to hurt them. I mean, they got two great players in Ethan Del Mastro and Victor Sternberg later rounds, which I think were better picks based on where they were at compared to Nolan Allen. But they really need to start building up their prospect pool. It's looking very thin. And I just hope that at some point, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be a lottery pick team this year, but there's a lot of talent in the top 15 this year that they really need to make a big move or make the right decision and not squander that pick.
Yeah, the Blackhawks, and again, this is another team that had a ton of great prospects in the past. And I mean, this happens. The prospects graduate, and it's great when they graduate and become elite players, and that's what you want. But you need to keep churning that, and it's hard to do sometimes when you have low first-round picks for a while, and you have to hit on a few of those. But that's just what happens. There's a lot of fluidity in the prospect pools as you go through it. Greg, last word to you on this part of who are you looking at as the team that's dropped the most in your opinion?
Well, it's hard to argue with what you had to say, Peter, about the Blackhawks. I think they're a team that seems to have their prospect pool is a lot of bottom six, third pairing defenseman guys, so they got to improve there. But I was going to go with the Canucks, but I figured our resident Canuck expert would talk about them. So, and then I was a little nervous that Peter was going to take my team because just, the rivalry, but I actually chose the Montreal Canadiens. They still have a pretty solid prospect pool, and half of their drop from 5th to 10th is not their fault, and half of it is their fault. The half that isn't their fault, well, Alexander Romanov is in the NHL right now. I know we consider Cole Caulfield still in their prospect pool, but let's face it, he's an NHL regular player. I don't consider him a prospect anymore. I mean, I know he fits the criteria, but dude is an NHL player. So those two guys on the NHL roster, no longer in their pool, is part of their drop. Not their fault. That's what you want. The part is their fault was their 2021 draft. I mean, they pretty much wasted their first round pick. Now they still may get some return out of that, but is it going to be worth all the other stuff that came along with it? Probably not. And then you remove the first round, and the rest of the draft is kind of maybe they got some long-term projects. Maybe they reached a few. I mean, you could say that about everybody's draft class, but they really didn't do anything this year to replace the guys that graduated. So I still think they have a very solid overall prospect pool. They still got some talent coming up through the lines that we may see in the NHL this year. But they're going in the wrong direction right now, which, as Matt mentioned, ebbs and flows. It's up, down, right. So they were towards the top of the list. They're still top 10 pool, but they're trending in the wrong direction, and their 21 draft class certainly didn't help.
If it wasn't for Caulfield, then they would be outside the top 10, but because of him, they're just hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. Caulfield's the saving grace right now for them. But again, here's a guy that's going to be graduating by a month from now. He's going to be gone from this list, but by the time we do this mid-season guy, he's gone. Let's go to the other spectrum. Who rose the most, this is what you want to see. This is the team, when you're looking at this list, this is what you want to see happening, especially for teams that have been on the low end. Let's start with you, Peter. What team did you see rose the most in these rankings from the last time this was released?
I am going to go with, we've talked about them quite a bit, the Anaheim Ducks. Previous rank was 9th, going to 2nd overall, and you look no further than Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras. Again, sort of similar to Cole Caulfield and the Montreal Canadiens. These guys are going to be off the list by the next time this ranking comes out. But you look at what they've done to still keep their prospect pool deep. McTavish, past jobs. Zellweger, 3 top picks and quality picks at that in this year's draft. They still have Jacob Perreault. They have Benoit Olivier Groux still waiting in the wings. And they have a really solid goaltender in Lucas Dostal. And I think he's not getting a lot of recognition right now, but he's got some steady numbers in the AHL, looking really good, great mobility and great reflexes, tracks the puck really well. I'm thinking that, I don't think they're going to move on from Job Gibson. I'm not saying that by any means, but they do have a quality player in their system that can assume maybe a backup role. I'm hoping at some point, but if he is a starter and if he continues to play that he does, they got depth at every single position right now. And that's why I put them number 2.
Yeah, that was actually my pick. But so I'll
sorry.
pick another one. That's a pretty, that one's a definite one. And there's another, I had some backup plans just in case. So yeah, there's a few. The Anaheim Ducks, great pick on that. They definitely have a huge future there. Greg, we'll go to you next. Who do you see as the team that rose the most in these rankings?
I'm going to stick in the state of California. Now, they may not have rose the most spots. I think they only jumped up a couple to 22, but I'm going to go with the San Jose Sharks because I think they're totally trending in the right direction. To when we come out with the mid-season rankings, they're going to be even higher. The Kings and the Ducks are getting all the attention. They're the top 2, and rightfully so. But the Sharks, those fans in Northern California should be excited. Their last 2 drafts have been fantastic. I've loved what they've done. 2020, they added guys like Thomas Bordelot, Tristan Robbins, Ozzy Weisblatt. Those guys are all going to be good NHL talent. And then you get William Eklund. We talked about him earlier this year. It fell in their laps. He's one of their top prospects already. And then I think they addressed one of their biggest weaknesses as well with their picture of Benjamin Gaudreau. Everybody's kind of worried about their goaltending. And yes, he's going to be years away, but getting a nice solid prospect in your pool definitely is going to help. They are stacked up front, and again, that's a team that always seems to have problems scoring consistently. Mention the guys that got in the last 2 years. You add those to like a Daniel Gushin and John Leonard, and even a Joachim Blichfield, who had a real good year in the AHL. They've got, and then the cherry on top is probably their best prospect who will be in the NHL this year, defenseman Ryan Merkley. They've got a ton of really good young players that if they develop in the right way, the Ducks and Kings might California, those 3-game swings through California for those Eastern Conference teams could be very tough in the next couple of years.
Very, very
100%.
I'm not looking forward to that right now.
Gonna be staying up late for a lot of nothing.
Oh yeah.
That's the one thing about the California teams. They, for a number of years, they were the best the Pacific Division had to offer, and they're going to be there again. And the division has been a bit weak for a while. But now, with the Canucks, their young talent coming up, all the California teams, they're just loaded with young talent as well. Very exciting to be watching. Maybe not good for the Canucks because there is a lot of, like I said, a lot of great teams going to be playing, and we'll see how they do. But yeah, my pick was going to be the Anaheim Ducks, but I'll go with my plan B, New Jersey Devils. They were 10th in the last ranks, went up to 4th. Added Luke Hughes to add to his brother Jack, and you're looking at guys they got last year, and Alexander Holtz, ridiculously skilled player. He's going to be a highlight reel guy moving forward. Luke Hughes is the biggest add to this prospect pool to me, and this guy's one of the best skaters and was the best skaters in the draft. He's probably going to be one of the best skaters in the NHL when he gets here. You already know what his brother did, Quinn Hughes, but this guy's a bigger version of him, and he's got the same skill level. He's got the same skating, and I'm going to say he's going to be better than Quinn in his prime, and that's huge. For a team that has fallen a bit on hard times the last few years, adding a guy like that to their pools is just ridiculous. So the Devils are definitely a team that's going to be one to watch moving forward with all their young talent as well. Let's start ending the show here with our last thing is around the horn quickfire. We're going to have this as a bit of a we'll try to make this a bit of a tradition towards the end of the show to close it. Just a quick few questions on random stuff. And first thing we'll talk, and we're going to actually focus in on our teams that we cover at the Hockey Writers. Prospect that needs to take the next step this season. Moving into the NHL, it may be a call up, be whatever. Who do you think needs to take the biggest stride forward moving forward? Greg, we'll start with you. The Chicago Blackhawks. What prospect are you watching to actually make a big step this season?
I was going to take Henrik Borgstrom, but then I realized he doesn't quite fit under the prospect. He's played a couple too many games in the AHL, but I think he needs to have a good season. The Hawks absorbed the contract of Brett Conley in order to get him. So I'm intrigued about what he's going to do this year. I'm actually going to go with kind of like a two-headed monster here because they kind of fit under the same category. Defenseman Nicholas Bodine and Ian Mitchell are the two guys that I think really have an opportunity to develop properly this season. The offseason moves the Blackhawks did in getting Seth Jones, to a lesser degree his brother Caleb, Jake McCabe. That allows Bodine and Mitchell to go to the AHL and probably play a full season in the AHL and develop properly. Something they should have done last year, but last year was so crazy with taxi squads and injuries. They each had a small taste of the NHL and looked good at times and struggled at times as young players, especially at that position, will do. So I think those two guys getting a full season, ideally in the AHL, are going to be huge going forward because I think those are two big pieces of hopefully, rebuilding into a playoff contender in the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely great picks there. And the Blackhawks in general, their young guys have to take a next step forward. And with the additions they made, having some young guys move into full time and even just making strides is getting there is going to be huge for them. Peter, your Toronto Maple Leafs, what do you think needs to take the next step forward on a team that has a lot of NHL talent? Who do you think needs to take the next step?
Yeah, I think there's only one right now, and Kyle Dubas has alluded to him along with Rasmus Sandin willing to take the next step because he probably deserves a spot. He needs to battle for one, and that's Timothy Liljegren. Everyone's going to point to the fact that he's been in the AHL for 4 years. He was drafted at 17, came over when he was 18 in North America, so he's still fairly young, still learning, but during that time, he's learned to sort of just not focus on offense because he was a great skater, great mobility, was viewed as a top 2 talent before dropping to 17 because of mono and inconsistencies during his draft year. But he's worked on his defensive game. He's worked on his strength. He has the smarts right now. And I think he's capable of challenging for that right-handed spot. It's going to come down to him and Travis Durant because he could also play on the right side now that Zach Bogosian is gone. But I do think that if he puts his mind to it, he's got a great mentality and great outlook. I think he's going to battle for it, and I think he could possibly take it.
Yeah, that's a guy that I was looking at too. Liljegren is a guy that the Maple Leafs do have to see some strides moving. And he has some success in the AHL, but they're expecting him to be an NHL defenseman, not an AHL guy. So, definitely a guy that needs to. For the Canucks, this is a similar vein. This is Olli Levy. He's a guy that's been in the system for a while, and not his own fault. Injuries have kind of kept his development on a bit of he's been in the mud a little bit, stuck there. But he's made some strides, I think. And this season he's going to be having to be, I think, a regular defenseman. Canucks need penalty killers. He's going to be a great penalty killer for the Canucks. But he has to be given the opportunity to do it. And if he is, he's got to show it and put that confidence that Travis Green has to have confidence in putting him out there all the time. And he definitely has the talent to do it. Being 6th overall pick or 5th overall pick, he's not going to ever hit that potential, but he's going to be a great defenseman in the NHL regardless. But yeah, Levy needs to move forward. Next up is this maybe the same guy, but or not. There's some exciting guys that may not make the team, but you're looking forward to watching in training camp. Peter, we'll start with you with Toronto Maple Leafs. What prospect / rookie are you looking at training camp to be excited to watch?
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Nick Robertson. Plain and simple. He's the one that's closest to most being ready, seeing a lot of NHL ice time. Not really a lot, but 6 games this regular season, missed a lot because of a broken foot, but made some great strides in the AHL with 16 points in 21 games. And yeah, I think if there comes a point where there's going to be a spot open and it sits for the taking, he's going to take it. He's got that outlook and that mentality, that forechecking edge that's going to be missed with Zach Hyman. So I'm obviously just going to look towards him.
Yeah, that's a pretty big guy to be excited. I mean, he's going to be an exciting player in the NHL in full-time role. So yeah, definitely big pick there. Greg, who are you looking at as for the Chicago Blackhawks in training camp, rookie prospect that you're excited to watch?
Well, this was an easy pick. It's no doubt Lucas Reichel. I mean, he's their top prospect. He's the only guy that from the Blackhawks that made our top 100 list. The expectations for him right now is to be in the NHL, if not right out of training camp shortly after that. He's a guy that, maybe when he was drafted 17th overall back in 2020, kind of were like, okay, but this past season, he's given us a lot to be excited about. It was unfortunate that they weren't able to play at the World Juniors, but he did well. Playing professionally in Germany, he held his own and played really well as a teenager against, grown men. So, he was a name that when all those rumors were going around with the Seth Jones deal, that he was a guy that the Blue Jackets reportedly wanted and the Blackhawks weren't interested in moving him. So we'll see what it is, but he's the guy. He's the top prospect. All the pressure's on him. He's supposed to be one of these building blocks for the future. Let's see what he can do. If he comes up and, they want to try him out at center, he could play wing as well. But if he plays center and Jonathan Taves is healthy this year, he's got Taves and he's got Kirby Dach to learn from. So those are 2 guys to really help along the process of playing center in the NHL. So no doubt that's who fans in Chicago want to see and are excited to see.
Yeah, Reichel's going to be a heck of a player. So again, I mean, there's so many young guys that you'll be watching the NHL this season, and we'll see what type of strides they've made, because there are some players that haven't played in a year, and we'll see what type of stuff they did in the off season and the time they were off as well. So let's do a quick one. This is going to be really fast. Not much explanation needed here. Everyone pretty much knows Michigan Wolverines are going to be the team to watch. Are they actually, let's just ask that, yes or no, are they the team to watch moving into this season with the amount of talent? And second question, will they win the NCAA championship in the end of it all? Start with me. I definitely agree. I think the Wolverines, especially with Owen Power, Matt Benier's been in there. I mean, that's just those 2 being able to play for them this coming season. They're just stacked with talent, and I definitely think they will win the NCAA championship. What do you think, Greg? You agree, or you think there's some concern that they won't?
On paper, yes, they're the best team in college hockey, but paper doesn't always translate to success on the ice. They got a ton of talent, but you got to remember there's still only 1 puck on the ice. Their goaltending may be their weakness. Eric Portillo looked really good in a small sample size as a freshman last year, but he has yet to be the number 1 guy. So in the NCAA, when it's a win or go home 1 game, that's not a best of 7 series. Sometimes the best team, not the team with the best players, are the ones that get it done. So on paper they should. Will it come out down to that? I don't know. We'll be. That's why I'm not a gambler. So it'll be fun to watch. Just hopefully they stay healthy this year and they can actually play in the NCAA tournament, because that was one of the biggest disappointments of last year, that they weren't able to compete.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Peter, last word on this topic. Do you agree that they're the team to watch, and will they win the championship?
Yeah, I mean, both of you kind of nailed it. Yes, they're the best team. Are they going to win it? I don't know. Stranger things have happened, especially the last few years.
Yeah,
that's my take.
That's the thing. And winner take all. That's the thing. You never know. When you get to a tournament like that, it depends on where the puck goes, and that sometimes happens.
One One miscellaneous shin pad and your season's over.
That's right. So we're gonna talk about the 2022 draft later on. There's gonna be a lot of stuff. We had this in it, but we're getting to a point in the show that we're wrapping it up. But 2022 draft's gonna be a topic that we're gonna be talking about a ton in the future. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But the final question on this Calder Trophy this season, I think there may be an obvious answer here, but we'll see. Peter, who do you think? Who are you tabbing as the Calder Trophy winner this year?
I hate to do this. Cole Caulfield.
That's my pick too, Cole Caulfield. Greg, do you have another pick, or is it Caulfield?
No, Cole Caulfield.
Unanimous.
Unanimous pick. You heard it here first.
They should just send them the trophy already and just save everybody's time.
Yeah, and I just realized I did not pick my pick for the Canucks as being the rookie to watch in training camp. Yeah, I do tell. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm not going to go with the obvious Vasily Podkolzin. I'm going to go with Danila Klimovich. He's going to be in training camp. And as far as we know, he will be. If he's not, obviously it's Podkolzin to be watching. But Klimovich is the guy the Canucks draft in the second round. Some bit polarizing of why he was drafted so high. But he's a skilled player. He's a hard worker. He's going to be a guy to watch in training camp if he does come. If not, it's Podkolzin for sure. Yeah, that's the show, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. And Peter's my co-host, so he will always be here. But Greg, of course, you're welcome to be on every episode as well. But thanks for joining us on the first episode.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Good stuff. Looking forward to a full season of this. Should be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun season. For this show, we're going to have a ton of guests on every time. You're not going to only see our faces. We're going to try to get guys from outside the hockey writers. We have a ton of experts on the hockey writers we can get on. We have a ton of experts we can get on as well. Already have Josh Bell, who was our prospects guru for a number of years. He's going to be on the show coming up as well. Chris Faber from Canuck Army, another guy is going to be coming on when we do our Canucks show. We will be doing a show dedicated to every Canadian team, so definitely look out for that. We're going to be deep diving into all the prospects on those teams and picking up guys to watch, stuff like that. So definitely look forward to that. Make sure you're liking this video on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everything. When you get episodes will be released. Right now it's probably going to be Sunday mornings. It's going to be great to be talking prospects. So definitely comment below. It's going to be, I'm sure prospects just get so much attention. There's we're going to have comments. I'm just going to say, so definitely
it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Simple as that.
Drop the comments below. Rip us for our picks for stuff, our opinions. We love debating with you guys. So don't be scared. I mean, I'm sure you won't be, because everyone's good with opinions. So definitely sign up for the Morning Skate newsletter, morningskate.io, and see you next week for another Prospects Corner. It's going to be fun.
See ya.